So welcome everybody to the Your Desired Success Foundation Mastermind, focusing around paying it forward with the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you. Now, when we're talking about the power of the mastermind, Napoleon Hill, author of many books of success, but in particular Think and Grow Rich, said, it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely on your own efforts for success. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the mastermind principles together to set the foundation so everybody is clear on the way that we communicate on the call. So if you'd like to start us off, Trudy.
The purpose of the mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
Kate?
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
Carly?
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is an OBS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces. One mind, one soul, one love.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies, for helping set that foundation there. Carly, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up just then. Thumbs up. You're happy? Good. Great to see you on the call as well, Carly. So what I'm going to do talking about today is planning your way into leadership. So with a show of hands, who here is a leader? Okay. So if you're, and remember, this is about where you're at in your life. So if there's any level of doubt, that's fine. If you don't believe you aren't, that's fine. If you do believe you are and you're like, yes, I am, that's cool. So sticking to the numbers, in just 2 minutes, give me an example of where you're in a leader.
Yeah, I hesitated because I'm not planning anything to be a leader at the moment, but in the past I've been a leader. I've managed restaurants, I've managed bars, I've had to look after staff. And even that was a learning curve, because when I was a restaurant manager, I used to kind of play with the staff, which wasn't acceptable. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm learning to probably regrow as a leader. When I say I'm not leading right now, I'm still learning the path of a new leadership with online businesses as such. So yeah, we're here to grow, and that's what I'm doing, growing again in a different path.
Brilliant. Thanks, Trudy. And for anybody who doesn't feel that they are a leader, just you can explain why you don't feel you are, maybe, if you're comfortable to. So to Kate.
I lead my children every day to adventures and exploring and learning throughout life. I lead whoever needs assistance and guidance throughout life. I feel strong in myself and confident and abundance of love surrounding me, that I can help anyone that needs a helping hand or asks. So I feel I'm a leader in that aspect. Yeah.
Wow, Kate, it was as if I even asked that question before this call to you. That was incredible. Flowed off the tongue beautifully. Thank you.
Yes, I'm a leader. I'm a self-leader. I lead myself all the time. I'm a leader of my MLM, and I am working on being a leader through Noble Goldman as well. And it's very interesting that you choose this, because I've just discovered all the really incredible videos on leadership within Noble Goldman training sections. I've been going through that. Really good stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Veronica. It's funny when you said that, I was like, that's what I was going to say around leading self, because at the end of the day, there's that thing around if we're not leading by example, then we're dictating and expecting people to do what we're not willing to do. So the big thing for me is I know the expectation I have on myself, and everything that I do has an intention behind it. And in many cases, the intention is to serve a greater mass of the world. And in doing so, by that really fueling me, it's helping me lead self, which has a positive impact on leading others as well, who choose to align, not from a place of forcing people, just opening the door and saying, hey, if you wish to come in here, please come in. If you don't, no worries. There's someone else out there who's got their door open for you. So that's where I feel like leadership for me resonates on my level. Well,
yeah, I've just become a leader in one of my online businesses, which I'm absolutely made up about. But also, a bit like Trudy, a lot of my leadership was in the past, where, like Kate said, bringing up the boys, as he is one of them. And
was that leadership or dictatorship?
That was definitely leadership.
Oh,
and
okay.
Because at an early age, at 30, I became into alternative medicine and looking at things naturally. I then started to help and lead my friends into how they could help themselves, and that has been huge for me. And so, yeah, and also I used to be a scrub nurse, and when you were a scrub nurse in theatre, you were the head of that team, and theatre ran according to you. And I learned so much about leadership there, about treating other people with respect and gratitude for other people who were carrying you in the leadership. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Sasha?
Yeah, I'm a leader of my dogs, of course. That's although I had to go to behavioral therapy last Monday, so I'm probably not doing the perfect job yet. But
you had to go for behavioral therapy, or the dogs did?
No, I think I did. It was to learn me to teach him. So yeah, we both went.
Yeah.
No, the dog trainers are training the people, not the dogs, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I saw an opportunity, Veronica.
Yes.
Yeah. I take it on myself. Yeah, totally. I had 4 dogs before, and I had the same problem. So I think it must be me by now. But no. And yeah, I have had several jobs in which I had to be a leader. And yeah, what Kate said, very beautifully said, definitely. And yeah, I have that too. When something comes up, like, yeah, I have that now with my mother in, how do you say that? It comes up regularly that I have to lead and that I have to take decisions. And then I do it comfortably. I feel comfortably doing that. But like something new now, like forming a team. I had teams before but it was in employer functions. So I always had a boss above me, so I could always ask for. So this is new to me, and I don't feel a leader yet. So I'm very grateful that I can learn from everyone here, from you all, and from the courses like the Vault. And I'm very grateful for that. And I will do everything I can to be a good leader in a couple of times on any way.
Beautiful.
And my dog too.
Beautiful. Thanks, Sasha.
Welcome.
And Carly?
I think leadership is in different areas. It depends on the relationship and what kind of wisdom or knowledge or experience you have to whether you're the leader or the follower. So it really depends on where you're at, who you're with, what you're in, experiencing what you're actually doing. Like I'm a leader at home with the kids, like Rosa with her children when they were young, probably still now in a way running the house as a leader in a way, even though the man can do it equally, like that's sort of those roles. And yes, you're still young, Martin. And so it really depends. And so even like I've been leading a mastermind. So you could call that me stepping into leadership and running my mastermind and embodying the way to run a mastermind so I can lead it at its full potential of what I feel is wholeness in me, is what a leader would be able to eventually get to be running the leadership of whatever that group is. Like it's like a wholeness, a connection, a full knowing that you've got no doubt because you're using the wisdom that's flowing through you. So I'm a spiritual leader. I love connecting to heaven to earth. I love leading from that place. So when I've got a group of women or a group of feminine presence group of women, I love leading from that place because that place is the ultimate wisdom. Everything else drops away. And I lead from pure soul, intuitive wisdom so that each individual person can grow in that present moment from my leadership and empower them to lead themselves, lead their own life.
Fantastic. Great share there, Carly. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing that as to what leadership has resembled for you to this point and maybe even beyond. So one of the things that we're going to dive deeper into, as I said, around this is planning your way into leadership. So as always, I'm going to refer to the Success Bible. Let's just call it that, okay? So we all have a different meaning of the word Bible, but this is around this. So we're going to be in chapter 7 of organized planning. So the crystallization of desire into action. This is the 6th step towards riches. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit to try and set this up, and then we're going to dive in a little deeper. And before I do, I'm probably just going to actually give you all a bit more of an overview from a more modern day angle. So planning, when you decide to take a road trip, the first thing you do is put your destination into a navigator system. Perhaps you'll consult a map and decide on a route to follow to reach your destination. Having a well-defined plan of how to achieve your goals is just as important as knowing what roads to take on your drive. But just like on a road trip, sometimes you'll take a wrong turn and deviate from the right path. That's why it's important not just to make a plan before you begin, but also to course correct when things go wrong. The sooner you course correct, the faster you reach your goal. So in this, and bearing in mind, I'm just taking a section, so obviously there's more to it with reading the whole chapter, but broadly speaking, and I'll just set this as well, ladies, because in particular, where there's a lot of ladies on this call with me, remember this was written in 1937, or certainly published in 1937, and it was very much a male-dominating time. So when I say men, I mean us all, okay? So I'm not singling us out. So broadly speaking, there are 2 types of people in the world. One type is known as leaders, and the other is followers. Decide at the outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. The difference in compensation is vast. The follower cannot reasonably expect the compensation to which a leader is entitled, although many followers make the mistake of expecting such pay. And just branching off from this, for those of you who are parents, you will know there's been times, and my mother cannot relate in any way, shape, or form to my upbringing, but there'll be times when it's been extremely challenging and you really want to throttle the kid, kind of like Homer Simpson out in older Bart Simpson, like that moment right there. But at the same time, you see these things taking place, you see them grow, and there's joy, there's love that's experienced. So there's a lot of reward. So as the leader, as a parent with a child, there is a lot more compensation coming back to you than what may seem at the time. Now, it is no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it is no credit to remain a follower. Most great leaders began in the capacity of followers. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers. With few expectations, the man who cannot follow a leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. The man who can follow a leader most efficiently is usually the man who develops into leadership most rapidly. An intelligent follower has many advantages, among them the opportunity to acquire knowledge from his leader. So thinking about that, success leaves clues. What are you absorbing? What are you learning along the process by intelligently following? So the major attributes of leadership, and have a think around maybe some people that come to your mind as I'm reading these out, okay? And then we might elaborate a bit more on them. So unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and of one's occupation. No follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self-confidence and courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. Number 2, self-control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. Number 3, a keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of his followers. Definiteness of decision. The man who wavers in his decisions shows that he is not sure of himself. He cannot lead others successfully. Number 5, definiteness of plans. The successful leader must plan his work and work his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. Number 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. This is a big one. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than he requires of his followers. Number 7, a pleasing personality. No slovenly, careless person can become a successful leader. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not grade high on all the factors of a pleasing personality. Number 8, sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with his followers. Moreover, he must understand them and their problems. Number 9, mystery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of details of the leader's position. Number 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of his followers. If he tries to shift the blame or the responsibility, he will not remain the leader. Oh, think about this one. This is huge. If one of his followers makes a mistake and shows himself incompetent, the leader must consider that it is he who failed. Think of the power of that. Cooperation. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce his followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. I'm just going to wrap this up now. There are 2 forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent and with sympathy of the followers. The second is leadership by force, without the consent and sympathy of the followers. So, leadership by force, what would that look like?
Maybe when you're in a, how do you say that? In a company as an employer,
Yep.
that you need to be under your boss or leader.
Yeah. So when we look at them, if you look at the company structure, at what point in a company structure does it say leader? It doesn't. It says managers, supervisors, people watching you, managing you. So they're controlling you in regards to that you've got to fit in with this. And if you don't fit in with this box, it's your fault. Bye-bye. There's very few people who understand leadership. And I think it was, what's his name now? Steve Jobs, when Darren Hardy interviewed Steve Jobs, and he said, how do you find all these people that are so enthusiastic and wanting to like show up in the best self for Apple? How do you train them? And he said, we don't train people to be enthusiastic. We don't train people to love Apple. We find people who are enthusiastic. We find people who love Apple, and then we expand on that from there, because the core, the foundation of it is they need to have those skills. So when you think around the people that you want to be around, you can't put your chickens in eagle school and expect them to turn into eagles. You need to go looking for eagles and let them grow. Like that's the thing to be aware of. If you've got a chicken that's there saying, I'm an eagle and I'm going to be an eagle, maybe give that chicken a bit of time. But if you're trying to convince that a chicken isn't to a chicken that it's an eagle, probably not going to go anywhere, and it's just probably going to end up killing you in your time. So there's an angle of looking at the leadership qualities within yourself. Are you looking for the low-hanging fruit that is never really going to potentially achieve what you see for them if they have no desire? People want to achieve success. How many people have read this? How many people have watched the movie? How many people have listened to the audio? How many people are willing to implement the principles taught? Has anybody got anything that's coming up for them right now that they'd like to touch on?
Feel like a naughty schoolgirl.
I was just thinking a lady in the Enagic higher up people's leaders, if you want to call them that, she always commented about the low-hanging fruit and how they're the ones she finds are actually the ones that she gives her time to and has success.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that was only recently. Interesting.
Because in most cases, so it depends what your terminology around low-hanging fruit is. So a post that was done in the community that I'm in said, how do you get people to watch a webinar that's for 30 minutes that don't want to watch it? And we all have different learning styles. So some of like Beth would rather read a PDF than watch a webinar. And if she watches anything, she usually speeds it up on the option to go 1.5 or twice as fast. But the thing is, if somebody isn't willing to spend 30 minutes on something that could potentially make a positive difference in their life, are they really worth your time and effort? Like that's a serious question of self-worth right there. And I can tell you that from my side, I thought leadership was helping everybody. That was not leadership at all, because you can't help everybody. And in doing so, you end up burning yourself out, and then you can't help anybody at all, even the people who want help. And that's why then when you look at that hierarchy in a company, there has to be that to protect yourself, because everybody who comes in at the beginning wants your attention. And you have to turn around and say, my value is being given to you and distributed over these areas. When you choose to access that and implement that, if I recommend reading a book and you go and read it and you don't implement anything, why are you going to get any more of my time? Because I need to see you actioning. I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. Let me see your actions. What are you doing on a daily basis? I'm going to create incredible change around the world. What are you doing on a daily basis to see that? Because talking about it is one thing, the actions behind it are what are going to create the change. Hey, Corey.
Hey, mate. Sorry, I'm in the dark on Sunset Parkour. I'm just sitting in the car joining in.
That's all right, mate. Great to have you with us. The topic is planning your way into leadership. So is anything coming up around what we shared there? Anything from the book or anything that you feel has come up around your own way? What do you plan around? Kate, yes.
Can I make a confession? I haven't finished the book yet. I'm reading it as fast as possible while driving with the kids, and whenever I can, actually. And it's scaring me. When I read a chapter, I get really, really scared because of the impact and power of the truth behind the words, and how relatable it is to things that are close to home. So I sort of have to put it down and then go back into my personal development and meditation and whatnot to sort of really take it in. And even a long walk along the beach to really, really take it in, because it's scary, it's real, and I have a lot of fears that I have to face to get to where I need to get to. And I have a lot of hurt and pain as well. So I sort of delve into it when I can and go hard, but then I reach a point where it's overwhelming or too much, and I just have to go back into me. So I'm getting there, and I know that I may be slower than most, but I'm going to keep at it every day, and I know I'll get there. Yeah. Just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, and just on that, we all, well, I believe, and I'll speak on my behalf. I get like, I don't get scared. Scared's not the right word, but I feel like I've just been kicked up the backside and gone, hey, time to step up, time to raise your game. And I'm just curious to know, even though you get scared and you take time to process it, and then you go and do those things that are important to nurture yourself, do you feel empowered by what you're receiving from the book?
Massively, massively empowered. And it's so much that it's almost a spiritual level. Like I sense that throughout it. The devil chapter really, really scared me. And I know I've danced with the devil many times throughout my life. And even at recent, the devil appeared and it was enticing. Yet I raised myself higher or leveled higher to overcome that or look away and walk towards the sunset. That's why I've fallen in love with the sunsets, because they are taking me away from bad choices. That walk, that whole personal development and getting back on board to where I want to go. And it's kind of like following the sun, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else? Veronica, you said you were diving into leadership and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all of those characteristics, and I feel like there's been times in the past where I know I've floundered with them, with one or two or three or more at a time, but I'm feeling pretty comfortable that these are definitely very important traits, and I'm embodying pretty much all of them without conscious effort. So I'm pretty happy with my state there. And I actually think it would be really good if our politicians had to study this and they couldn't sit in office unless they passed it.
Yes. It was actually interesting when I used to work in the mines. The manager that came up, and that was his name, and I've always classed him as an incredible leader. He was very much that he didn't expect anybody else to do what was required unless he did it first, to understand what was involved, and then he could share it and say, okay, well, off you go. And I've always said that he's been one of my mentors, and he brushes it off Gets a bit embarrassed when I'm like, I don't think you really truly understand just how much of an impact you made and helped me learn about leadership. But he said, I saw that in you from very, very early on. And I didn't see that in me, which was really interesting as well. So, because I wasn't thinking like that. And it's only through personal development that a lot of that's been extracted and you started to see and connecting with other people. It's not a case, I don't believe that. One of the things that we spoke about in the universal laws was praise, giving people praise. I don't need praise to work harder, to do what I want to do all these things. So I'm not very good at giving praise because I don't need it. I just do what I feel I need to do. However, I also have become more aware of the importance of receiving praise and accepting it as it's a sign of somebody's love, a way of them giving their love to you and seeing the value. So don't brush it off, accept it, because that is also energy that's flowing to help go to that next level. And every time that something like that has helped, it's sorry.
Yeah. That's a great reminder, because it's so easy to take for granted what people do for us. And certainly, you know, I am an employer as well, and I know I don't always just even say thank you at the end of the day would be a huge step, and it would be received with great gratitude, and definitely earned. So yes, I will make a note to do that from now on. So thank you at the end of each day at least.
I think humility is a really important character trait of a leader, right? Which is what Veronica was alluding to before. A lot of politicians don't have humility. But it's interesting how people receive it. I spent 4 days in the bush last week hiking with 2 teenagers. And at the end of it, I honoured both of them. And one of them took offence and said that I didn't honour him. And the other one, like, just took it and he's carried that forward to the point where he sent me a beautiful message and he wants to come back as an emerging leader next year. But it was just super interesting, like our ability to, whether we need it or not, our ability to receive praise, and I think is a really important aspect of, I think receiving praise with humility is a really important aspect of leadership. I kind of lost my train of thought there. But I think as, I don't know, I feel like I have a lot of character traits that are in the realm of leadership, and sometimes I don't see them, and sometimes I shy away from them, particularly over the last period of time. It's just kind of been more recently when I've really joined into Noble Goldman and these masterminds that I've kind of stepped more into that leadership role. But every time I do, I have someone kind of say, hey, you're doing an amazing job. And for me, do I need it? I think it's something that I guess it just verifies who I am as a person. Like, I guess I've been in this state of seeking external validation for so long. It's interesting how childhood experiences kind of shape how we view ourselves. So we kind of have this lens on of how we view ourselves, and then it's really hard to take that off, right? It's really hard to go like, I'm a good person, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, depending on what kind of lens we've been carrying throughout our life. And I found, particularly last week, 4 days in the bush, I found, like, even though I meditate every day, having 4 days of immersion in country was an amazing opportunity for me, I guess, to like take the lenses off and start to really explore what it would be like to live my life without needing external validation. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's even relevant, but that's kind of what's alive for me when this topic's being talked about.
Yeah, it's beautiful, that, Corey. One of the things that Wayne Dyer had said that we've got to be very careful of, if we need praise, then we are disempowered when we don't receive it. So if we are needing and relying on something, we're weak. And there was a lady I was in a community with, and she's absolutely beautiful, and she gives praise, and she's like, everything's just amazing, and you're amazing, and so on. But she needed to hear that from other people, and it was incredible to witness how much she was crushed when she didn't receive it. And I said, I don't do it for the applause. I do it for the cause. And when you get that kind of mindset, you don't need anything, but you're grateful when you receive it. I think that's something to be aware of.
Yeah. So sorry, Callie, go.
I was just going to say, what you're talking about there is the shadows of when we can't accept something, a quality within us, and then we can. Some people don't need it. You're right. Other people do need it. Just depends on where you are with internal wound and what level of acceptance of around that particular quality yourself you own. But there's nothing wrong with that, because we're all learning. So a leader can see that and choose to accept the person anyway, or disengage with that person and crush them. But it's up to the other person that's crushed to step up into their choice around that. Like you said before, they either need validation or they don't. And for some people, that would make them try even harder and become a bigger leader than the person that's supposedly leading them. And I was thinking of Veronica, because Gary's always, every week, and I've told her this last week, always complimenting her right at the end of her mastermind when he's on there with her. And I see it as him just confirming to her that she did an amazing job, but it's also his way of supporting his team to build up their confidence and leadership. And there's nothing wrong with that, because he says it from compassion. He doesn't say it from ego or with an agenda. He says it with pure love and acceptance of Veronica, of who she is, of the amazing person she is. And he wants her to know that, to just give her that little part of confidence so that she knows she's done a good job, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Thank you, Carly. And I would just like to point out the power of Noble Goldman, because when you or anybody praised me, I would have to turn off the camera because I'd get all teary. So I've had to learn to accept and receive with gratitude and grace. So thank you. Thank you, Carly.
Veronica, I remember when we first started doing these calls, your camera was on and off. We used to, and I can totally relate with that, because I was getting all emotional just thinking what Corey was saying and Martin and everybody is saying, and I was the same. I was the kind of person that would say, "Oh, look at the state of my hair," because I wanted that person to say, "Oh, Rosa, it's beautiful, it's brilliant," because I needed that. And I've now learned that I don't need that, because I look in the mirror and I think my hair's beautiful. So I don't need anybody telling me that anymore. And it's made me now be able to accept if people now, and it's really strange, people now, like when I'm cleaning, doing my cleaning business, some people will say, "Oh, I haven't got the right change, just take the money." And at one time I would argue and go, no, and I don't now. And when somebody says something and like pays me a compliment, and I go, apart from Dave, because Dave's can be like double-edged sword, Dave's, but I always accept that compliment, that money, whatever it is, because I've learned now that I am worthy of these compliments, and I am worthy of people being grateful to me and for me. And it's a completely different way of life. It's lovely. So that's just what I want to say.
Beautiful, Mom. Judy, Kate, Sasha. Yeah, Kate.
I was just thinking, all of that reminded me of that book, The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. Just, she helped me to say the word thank you, and I've made it a habit. I practice it so much that it's a habit. And even today, walking along the beach, Chelsea had dropped her toy and the people walking past us said, "Oh, she's dropped her toy back there." And I said, "Thank you, we're going back." No, I didn't say thank you. I said, "We're going back that way." And they were laughing and it was all funny, and they walked off. And I just remembered, you should have said thank you. So I turned around and I did a Patch Adams and I said, "Thank you," I yelled out at the beach. And they looked back and just laughed, and it was a good moment. And I mean Patch Adams, the movie, because he tries to strike a response from people with a different action. So it was not the usual to just yell back thank you, but it worked. And so even though I missed the moment, I caught it in the end. And I would have felt bad continuing walking down the beach because I didn't say thank you. And it's just that little split second of showing appreciation, but also accepting it. I've had to train myself to accept it, because my eyes, people will always say, "You got beautiful eyes." And I used to shy away, I used to go red as, and now I just say a funny comment, like "all the better to see you with," and stuff like this, and take it on, swallow it.
Beautiful share, Kate. Thank you. Trudy or Sasha, anything you'd like to share?
No, I've just been listening to everyone's comments, and when you were reading the book, you know, the follower, because that's what I generally say, you know, I am a follower, you know, I'm following people into crypto, into online businesses, and I realize I have to grow from that. But, you know, I think I'm comfortable being a follower. I don't necessarily need to be a leader, but like I said before, you know, I'll grow there. So, yeah, that's what I've taken away from today, that, you know, I'm happy being a follower. I don't feel right now I need the leadership or leader status as such, but, you know, I'll grow there. And that's why we're all here, is to grow and learn more. Just a quick question, Martin. Should we be reading the book to help us understand, or you just pick chapters each week and go random?
Really good question, Trudy. The book, there's no doubt about it, the book will add an incredible amount of value. For the more so the females, the Sharon Lecter wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women. And all the ladies that have read both have all said, my mum's got it there, all the ladies that have read both, Beth's just handed it me as well, have said that they really resonated with this version by Sharon Lecter. And there's some important things to be aware of around Think and Grow Rich. It's been, I'm going to use the word bastardized, in regards to the fact that they took a lot of the important content out of it when it's been republished over time. And that important content is around the vibration. That was also removed from the movie The Secret and so on, because they thought it was too woo-woo-y for people, is what they covered it on. But anything that's approved by the Napoleon Hill Foundation is the true version. So this one, for instance, that I've got is approved. It's the original and unedited version. So I get a lot more, and the energy within this is a lot more. You don't necessarily need to be reading it because of us talking around stuff, because what I'll actually do is, on the day of the call, I just open it and I go with what I feel resonates with me, and then I just want to expand on that. So, sorry.
Yeah, I've had 3 goes at reading the book, and I put it down every time. I don't know what it is, procrastination, or maybe as Kate sort of said, there's some truth in there, but you just have to dive past it. But, you know, I've had several attempts at reading it and I just don't do it.
Can I ask?
Sorry.
Sorry. Go, Rosa.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Trudy, is that the women's one that you've had trouble with?
No, well, when I say the original, yeah, no, Think and Grow Rich, you know, because I did some Bob Proctor work, you know, that was to read, you know, like he just, you know, says everything every day he reads, and he has done for, you know, 50 odd years or something. I just go, how can you do that? But yeah, no, you know, it's just being in the right place and right space to accept it, you know. But yeah, maybe I'll try for the women's one. I'll have to order it online and get it sent. And carry another book with me.
I think For me, I think the beauty of Think and Grow Rich is, and I kind of treat it like my Bible. Like when I pick my Bible up, I don't know what I'm going to read in the book on the day when I open it up, but I just do some breath work. So just like really simple box breathing, get myself to center, and then I just open the book to whatever page is, and I just might read the verse, or if it's super interesting, I'll go. And it's the same with Think and Grow Rich. I think it's a beautiful book because it's broken up into so many different segments, and you can read 1 or 2 pages and get enormous value from just 1 or 2 pages. I think it's not the kind of book, and he actually writes this in the front of the book, it's not the kind of book that you pick up and read from front to back. It's the kind of book that you pick up and you read, and then you kind of spend some time embodying that. And it might be just 1 page, 1 chapter, or 1 paragraph, whatever. But I found that's a really powerful way that for me to read the book and process it, rather than trying to go from front to back. It's just to read whatever comes up. Like Martin said, he just opened the book on leadership because that was resonating for him. I kind of do the same thing. I pick it up, I do drop into some breath work, and that kind of, for me, that connects me into source. And then I just open the book wherever the universe wants me to be reading that day, basically, rather than being attached to, I need to get from point A to point B. It's more of a journey book rather than a destination.
Yeah, no, thanks, Corey. I like that suggestion because that just makes me not want to go and get it and read it. But yeah, it's a better way of reading a book. But at the moment, I have to do, well, I don't have to, but traveling and carrying less books, it's all Kindle. So you can't do that on Kindle. But this one, if I get a real book, yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. So thanks for that share.
Yeah.
I was going to say Audible, because I juggle a lot of stuff. So I use Audible. And while I'm cooking, I'm listening to it. And while I'm driving, I'm listening to it. Just with the kids and everything, fitting it all in. Yeah.
Yeah.
May help.
Audible's, to be fair, I struggle to, I'm not a big fan of reading. I hadn't read a book since I left school for, gosh knows how many years. So I would prefer Audible. And I listen to Think and Grow Rich on audio so many times when I was gardening or anything like that. And I really enjoyed it. And that's what encouraged me, even though I had the book, it's what encouraged me to stop and start reading it. However, I'm like Corey said, and like some of you no doubt have heard me say before, if the goal's to read the book, when you get to the end, the then question is what have I learned and what am I going to implement? Because the problem with a lot of people is the goal is to just finish the book and then go on to the next book and next book and next book. And I know so many people that have read this, but they don't, for instance, they don't get on the Mastermind. Well, Napoleon said, chapter 10, you need to be on a Mastermind. So if people have read through this book and they're not accessing a Mastermind, they're not implementing one of the 13 principles. Like how simple, I know that it takes a choice and we're showing up, but how simple is it to register and join the call? It's simple to do. What's simple to do is also simple not to do. So we start looking at where on a daily basis am I actioning the things that are important to help me get to where I want to get to, which goes right the way back to what we said earlier, planning your way into leadership. So at the start of the week, like Jim Rohn said, don't start the day until you finish the day. Don't start the week until you finish the week. Are you planning your week? Are you filling your diary with things that serve you before you focus on serving others? Like, think of the power of that. That's self-worth. I never used to do it that way around. It was the other way. Oh, well, if I'm serving others, then I'm serving self. Not necessarily. The gift of me being able to serve others is the byproduct of me being able to serve self first, is the way that I view it. Not the way that I'm managing in any way. It's the way that I choose to do it. But on that, and I just wanted to touch on this as well, around, for those of us who are in Noble Goldman, when the Gold Stars actually got together and we broke down every single principle within Think and Grow Rich based on the tools within Noble Goldman. So when we look at this principle 6 of planning, the abundance game hands down is planning. because you sit there and you focus on what your goals are, what milestones you're going to give you to reward yourself with, what you're going to be going through that process, your vision, the vault, accessing the vault, going through and the strategy courses, the planning courses, all the masterminds that are featured in there, getting on the calls with Mark Santos each week, the community masterminds, everything around that is helping you once again activate the principles taught in here. And that's one of the main reasons why most of my time is spent looking at what am I actioning? How am I actioning that principle? What am I doing there? And I can do a lot more. I can do a lot of things better with the time I have allocated. However, I don't want to just sit and talk about it. Like this is really nice, and being together and connect with everyone's really nice. But there has to be, when I leave here, what am I doing after this call? What have I received? What can I action? It's not about being a follower or a leader as such. It's about our lives and making sure that the life that we have here, we get to that place where we stand there and reflect back and go, that was fantastic. Wow, I am so grateful that I stepped out of my comfort zone. I'm so grateful that I stepped on that edge, put my toes over the edge, had the bungee cord there and leapt off. I'm so glad that I did that. And that's just an analogy. I'm so glad that I did that. Rather than getting to that point and going, why didn't I start implementing those principles that I was reading about 30, 40 years ago? Why did I just sit there on those calls and go, yeah, this sounds amazing, but then continue on the same hamster wheel, getting the same results and not getting to where I wanted to get to? Because the only question I believe that we are to ask ourselves at the end of the day when we go to sleep, am I a better person than when I woke up this morning? Like that to me is one of the most empowering questions I can ask myself, knowing that I showed up and I chose to be of service to self and of service to others. So for those of us who are in NG, which I believe is all of us, Abundance Game, the Vault, the Masterminds, have a look. And also in the Your Desired Success Facebook group, I dropped in a while ago about knowing your personality.
Yeah.
So some of us are in there and we've already gone through it. It's the 16 personalities. That is a fantastic task to do, to get back the feedback on what personality you are, to then find out, and it gives you a full report on your strengths and weaknesses. And go through and have a look and see what your strengths and weaknesses are, and amplify your strengths and appreciate, hey, these are the areas I'm weak in. So if I'm weak in these areas, what do I need to do? Do I need to surround myself with people who are strong in those areas and we work together to achieve a greater purpose? I have been strictly told that I need to be on time tonight for dinner before the Gold Star call in 27 minutes. So with that in mind, for those of you who want to do the 16 personalities test, it doesn't take long, it's free. I will drop it in the Your Desired Success group again. And make sure, as always, that you access NG, you go through, and even if you're just using it as a free member and using the tool, access the Abundance Game. You're activating the universal law of action, compensation, sacrifice, forgiving, because you're gonna have to forgive yourself if you want to achieve more in life. Anyway, I'm going to attract some food into my belly. So thank you all very much for your time. I look forward to seeing some of you on the Gold Star call very soon. And yeah, take care.
Bye.
See you all next week. Bye.